All right. So there is a second story leak that has come out from the Comic-Con. It's an extended look at the Lin Kuei cutscenes. There's no gameplay. Same with the leak for the Reiko Nitara one. There's no gameplay. It's just cutscenes from the story. And it's very much confirming a lot of things that we've been seeing for a bit, bits and pieces, that indeed it will appear that Bihan will go like, you know, super Ice Saiyan and just basically want to, you know, take the Lin Kuei in a different direction, right? Which then, no doubt, will lead down to the path of cyberization for the Lin Kuei, right? And if anyone knows, the reason why they went down the path of turning their ninjas into cyborgs was to remove the ability for their souls to be taken whenever Shao Kahn invaded a world. The souls would actually be taken from people, right? Which is a really great way to stop them from fighting back. And the only people that were left that could fight were actual warriors that were deemed worthy enough to defend the realm, right? That's how they ended up doing that, so that way they could be essentially protected eternally from ever having to, you know, have their clan compromised. There's Scorpion and Smoke, who are standing up against Sub-Zero, saying, no, we need to honor the clan. Now, it turns out that their father is dead. We'll probably find out how he died, but in this cutscene, he's already dead. And Sub-Zero is complaining about that because he's being reminded of their father by talking that way. Smoke reminds Sub-Zero that we're here to serve, not lead. This is our purpose. And then, you know, Sub-Zero's like, you know, you're old school. We need to bring this up to speed for modern audiences, right? So anyway, and then they're climbing up the wall and Smoke's floating up. It's funny. So when you see in the trailer where the two ninjas look back or whatever it is, and then Smoke rises up, I originally thought that was going to be a cutscene fighting Smoke for the first time. It's not. They're actually together. And then right at the end, they hear a screech. Smoke looks up and then it cuts. And a screech sounds exactly like the screech that Nitara has from her early games, right? So it sounds like, yes, we do. It seems like we are very heavily leaning into the 3D era. It also is feeling like that John Tobias has got to be on the team, man. It's massive vibes. Not to mention that, and I'll do a video on it, there's a picture of him and Ed Boon at Comic-Con. When's the last time that happened? Right? The man himself, Tobias, is there with Ed Boon in a picture with him with Sub-Zero, like somebody cosplaying as Sub-Zero. Great work too. So I'm looking at the clip. It's playing right here next to me, right? And, you know, there's no action or anything. It's just like, you know, a lot of talking, you know, sort of showcasing the different loyalties of where they are in the clan. And obviously Scorpion is not a Spectre, but it seems, it would appear that the Lin Kuei are able to, through various means, able to harness elements, right? Whereas in Sub-Zero's case, Smoke's, either he wasn't capable of doing it or he wanted to become more practical and harness something that he could, you know, that wasn't, you know, delving into the realm of magic, you know, or maybe he wasn't allowed to, I don't know. But regardless, yeah, it's the storylines that we've been have been leaked and talked about is 100% true. Sub-Zero will eventually become bad, no doubt. And Scorpion, and of course we know that Takeda is now coming. And I've been reminded that Takeda was the original name of the founder of the Shirai Ryu. So interestingly enough, actually, because I wanted to cover Takeda, Takeda's hair in the Kombat Pack reveal looks kind of grey. That would lean into it being that, what if he was indeed the founder of the Shirai Ryu? Again, this could be the first Mortal Kombat game for ever since MK9 where, and even beyond that, where we're actually delving into storylines which have been abandoned, never fully fleshed out, or, you know, I don't know. It feels like they're leaning into stuff that should have been there since the beginning. It's really strange. And that's because Tobias was on team all the way up till MK4. Like, he was there through all of it, and then after MK4, he's gone. And then everything just kind of went down the poo-poo. Right? It could very well be that they are leaning into these storylines to move on and sort of culminate forward what originally was that. So in some respects, when Ed Boon says, oh, it's a new timeline, or a reboot of the universe, in some respects, I agree if that's what they're doing. Because then it's like, yeah, we are absolutely taking these storylines that were originally created seriously, and this is what we're doing. This is what we're doing moving forward, right? So it's a great clip. Obviously, like, it cuts as soon as you hear the scream or the screech. It's not going to be a bloody harpy. It'll be Nitara. I have no doubt about it. Everyone was like, oh, you know, like they knew. Everyone knows, man, right? Now, the interesting thing too, now that we know that Takat is a blood disease of some description, whether it's something that is a magical formation or, you know, you see in the clip with Baraka being, you know, something being injected into the back of him, it could very well be an antidote. It could very well be something to make them more compliant. But it seems like that once you get this disease, that's it. You are stuck. Unless you take things that can sort of keep it at bay. You know, say like a zombie virus. You get bitten, but I know they're not real, but in some movies they've done this where you get bitten, but you take medicine that helps keeping it at bay without full transformation. And that's eventually what Melina could be. She gets to a point, they give her this stuff, but then she's stuck at that point. You know, like stuck in time at that point. And she has to keep taking it to stay there, right? In regards to Nitara, I always found it incredibly strange that they introduced vampires into Mortal Kombat, just out of the blue. It was really odd. Great character, but really effing odd, right? Now we've got Scarlet, which can manipulate blood. We now know that there's a blood disease, which completely transforms you. And now we have Nitara. We have a race of vampires, which if they do this right, and I really hope they do, right? If they do this right, they could fully explain the integration of having some sort of vampiric race into the game. This is how they do it. In order for how about this? This is gonna out there, right? In order for the vampire race to survive, they can only thrive on blood, specifically from people infected with the Takat virus or the Takat blood disorder. So they can't feed on anyone, right? It's like they're lactose intolerant except for blood. They can only feed on people that have this virus. So the more people that have the virus, the more people they can feed on, right? It could all, you know, you could then, it could explain a lot of things. You know, you'd be like, oh, well, you know, like there might be some throwaway storyline comment in there, like, oh yeah, you know, the people infected, they eventually disappear. No convenient, you know. They fly down, take them, off they go. Right? So that would be a wonderful explanation into the complete symbiosis between the infected and the people that are required to have it. And that in order for them to have it, they need to make sure that there's enough population infected to do that. Does that make sense? Right? Think of it kind of like the actual, like the race of vampires, right? Could be like the, I don't know. I'm trying to figure out how to way to say this. they're not obvious. They're not Takatan because they're different species, but they've got a symbiotic relationship where they need that infected blood. So I don't think it comes from them, or it might. Maybe. I don't know. Like, you know. But this is the thing, though. Like, this would be really interesting storylines. Like I was talking about with stuff in the leak about Reiko and stuff like that. They could really, go crazy into explaining. Because, like I said, I always found it really strange that oh, vampires. Oh, there's a vampire now. What? Like, you can't just do that. You can't just introduce stuff like that, especially when it doesn't even sort of fit into the mythology of Mortal Kombat. You know, but if you were doing these storylines, that would be a wonderful integration. That the only way that vampires in the Mortal Kombat realm can survive is by feeding off people that are only infected with a Takat virus or whatever. And in order to have that, you've got to make sure there's constantly people being infected. So you can't ever have it cured, because if you cure that virus, then the other species wipes out. They're completely wiped out, right? They would die off because they don't have access. And they can't feed on non-infected blood. That'd be kind of cool, right? So that there's this constant push, pull, survival. You know, it's like we got it. You know, we need that access to that infected blood. And the infected blood, people are going, I don't want to be infected. What's the matter with you? Right? That'd be cool. That would be cool. Instead of just plonking vampires in the middle of Mortal Kombat universe and going, oh yeah, here they are. Right? Now, keep in mind the vampire race could be limited. There could be very few left because not many people have been infected for them to survive. That'd be kind of cool. This is what I'm talking about. Maybe I should write a story for Mortal Kombat. Anyway, guys, let me know what you think. Catch you next time.